But what did you see in this latest batch of rankings that has you feeling more optimistic?
Well, Saturday night, I'm watching a lot of games, and when J.K. Sagapolatelli threw that laser shot off that whip route to beat Louisville, and then Wake Forest. By the way, Jake Dickert, what a great job he's doing with the Demon Deacons. And when they pulled the upset, in the back of my mind, I said, this is low-key been a great Saturday for Miami because we needed some ACC anarchy, right? And I know you guys talked about it a couple days ago, Peter. I'm with you. Look, let's just go 3-0. Let's have 3 1-0 weeks. And if whether you get to the playoffs or not, I get it. We're all going to be disappointed if we're left out. If you can have back-to-back double-digit years, you have to give Mario Cristobal credit.
There he is. Steve is he's turning the corner, baby. Let's go.
Look, I'm fair. I'm like the old referee, Joe Cortez. I'm firm, but I'm fair. I can have my critique, but I can also give you praise.
Listen, if they don't go 3-0, that's a whole different tune than what I've been talking about.
But that means that Mario Cristobal in the last 2 seasons, as disappointing as they might be without a playoff berth, has raised the floor. Raising the floor is important.
And stabilized what we are.
Right, and he has stabilized it. So I look at this, and I know it's popular to say that college football has diluted its regular season, which in general has always been the most important, impactful regular season in all of American sports, right? But guys, you look at all these games this year, or this particular week, week 12, from Alabama against Oklahoma, Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, Pitt, and a lot of ACC games. I'll be watching them very intently because, quite frankly, they have an impact on how Miami is viewed and ranked. I think this is one of the most exciting weeks of regular season college football that I can recall. And as long as Miami takes care of business on their end, I get the sense they will find a way to sneak in.
Agreed.
Yeah, I said on the show with Mike yesterday, the idea that the committee's talking about Miami passing the eye test, which they said yesterday. They said Miami passes the eye test. Okay, well, that's one test passed. I think they don't expect us to win the last 3, which I don't know. A lot of Canes fans don't expect us to win the last 3. We have shown no ability to finish strong in 20 years. So yeah, I think that's baked in. But that does happen, and you end up winning the last, in this case, it would be 4 with the Syracuse game. Now you check that box of finishing strong. You check the box of the eye test. You get to the resume. The resume is going to stack up, especially if USF makes the playoffs. There's about 2 playoff teams, most likely. Or Pitt beats Notre Dame, a good Pitt team that's probably ranked pretty high when we play them. At that point, what reason would they have to keep us out? We're going to play better games. We're going to produce better just matchups for TV, both in terms of the evenness of the teams and the brands involved. You'll get the ACC in there, and you'll have a resume that's not only easy to defend keeping in, hard to defend keeping out, and some uncomfortable questions you have to deal with if you keep out a team like Miami. So to me, the committee has no incentive in any way, unless you just say, okay, they hate Miami, which I don't think is the case, to keep us out. It's just about them not trusting us to finish.
Also, SMU is now rolling. Looks like they're going to win, 8-9 games?
Yep.
Louisville will probably win 8-9 games. So it's not like they lost to bad teams. They also lost 1-possession games. One went into overtime. The other one, Miami had the ball with the chance to take the lead. So it's not like they lost 31-0 here. Let's go back about 12 months or 11 months. I was there in front of the big TV at JB's Touchdown Lounge and Cigar Bar when Ohio State lost their last regular season game to an incredibly mediocre Michigan team at home. They didn't even play in the Big Ten title game. People forget about that. That was Oregon against Penn State. And guess what? At that point, Ryan Day had a for sale sign planted on his front lawn. 8 weeks later, people thought he was Woody Hayes 2.0. These things can change. Like I like to say, there's a lot of ball to be played.
So just real quick in terms of the next 3, what's your feeling heading into them? You talked about what you want to see. Points early. I think we all can agree.
Yeah.
We need points early. I think we all can agree we probably need to avoid penalties, right? This is just in terms of the 2 things that have haunted Miami. this season, particularly the second half of the season. What else do you want to see? It could be on the defensive end. It could be from a personnel standpoint. What else do you want to see that's going to allow Miami to potentially finish 3-0?
Well, there's going to be a game, I'm convinced of it, that Ruben Bain is going to continue to get home. He's going to have a 3-4 sack game. And it's interesting to hear the scouting reports from the draft gurus about Bain. They're wondering if he's Shamar Stewart 2.0, and I couldn't disagree more. I think he impacts the game in so many ways. But there's going to be a game, hopefully, where he can play from ahead, and instead of almost just pressuring and almost getting there, he's going to actually just get home. I almost feel as though when you look at his sack numbers, it feels like he has almost 15, and you look at it, he really doesn't. But he has the ability to make other people around him better. That is the true measure of greatness in any sport, in my view. So that's going to be one. But Michael Irvin says it the best. And I think Michael Irvin is really a genius when it comes to figuring out the emotion of football, about what makes a player and a team tick. And he said long time ago, hope and emotion will dictate effort. Okay, so in other words, if we don't win on Saturday, if Miami doesn't win on Saturday, they might actually lose the last two. Going into cold environments, they don't want to play. Everyone's packing up. You don't know who's going to say, hey, I'm sitting out here, I'm good. But if they win emphatically on Saturday, and now let's say in the college football rankings, they move up a couple more spots. Hope and effort can be dictated by the energy you have and what you are playing for. I've seen, and we've all seen it, guys, this used to happen under Al Golden. We'd give really good efforts against better Florida State teams. Dalvin Cook would stab us in the heart. And guess what? We couldn't win a game the rest of the year. We've seen it. We've seen it matters. So Saturday to me is the season. And guess what? The way that works, once you win that, knock on wood, then Virginia Tech becomes the season. And then I know Pittsburgh's going to be cold. I've been there that weekend. Our final game as a Big East member was in 2003. I think I've told this story. Guys, it was literally 12 degrees the whole time. It was the most frigid I have ever been. But you know what? Because we were playing for something, which was the last Big East title, our players really were not that impacted after the first drive when Pittsburgh went down and drove. But after that, our players adjusted, and I don't even think they felt the cold until they went off the field. So again, these factors matter because we are dealing with human emotions.
Pete, what you got? You're out here standing up, chilling.
I'm not chilling. I'm on the show. No, I'm glad to hear Steve's perspective on the 10 wins as well, man, because I think this thing isn't always linear, right? And you just haven't, you look at the years after like any sort of success, and you haven't been able to follow it up in the last 20 plus years. So you have not been able to build on any sort of success that you've had.
Petey, we talked about this the day after Louisville at the place where everyone knows our name, Duffy's, right? We're watching all the games. And on one of the screens was Ole Miss against Georgia, right? We were watching that game. I think Ohio State was playing somebody. I think they were playing Wisconsin.
Indiana was playing Michigan State, maybe.
Right. So we're watching all those games. And we were talking about it. Kirby Smart is an all-time great coach, maybe the greatest coach in Georgia history, with all due respect to Vince Dooley. And if you look back at Kirby Smart, who succeeded Mark Richt, I believe his first year was 2016, it took him about 6 or 7 years to get to the mountaintop. Now, they had some excruciating close calls. They would blow a game or two against Alabama, one's in the national title game, then in the SEC title game the next year. Like you said, Peter, these things are not linear. And in between, I remember in 2020, they had a very frustrating year where they dropped a few games and people thought they were going backwards. And guess what? In 2021 and 22, they were the best team in college football and they went back to back. But it's not as if Kirby Smart only took 2-3 years and he's putting a ring on everyone's finger. It took a little bit of time.
There you go. You see it right there. Duffy's Tavern right there on the edge of Coral Gables. what like Steve says, where everybody knows your name. When you walk in, Wayne the Pain, first thing he says, welcome home. This is the spot, the home of the Hurricanes. 60 plus years serving the community, and now, yes, accepting credit cards. Steve's out there, Pete's out there more than he's in his house. It is the spot. We'll be out there tomorrow doing a show.
Pete is the norm of Duffy's. Every time you walk in, Pete!
Pete has no idea what you're referencing, by the way.
What? You haven't heard of Cheers? Anyway.
No.
Pete, what do you know? What do you know about Cheers? You've heard us talk about it. What do you know about Cheers?
I don't know anything. I don't know what that is.
Oh my God. Have you ever heard the theme song? It's iconic.
I mean, if I heard it, maybe if I've heard a jingle, I would know, but I don't. Is it what is a movie or?
Well, oh my God. You want to go where people know people are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows you're.
We're gonna get hit with the. We're gonna hit with the copyright now.
Yeah, Brett, I'm so on tune. We're gonna get a copyright hit. So, you know, Steve, you talk about adjustments a lot, and you talked about some of them on the show. You know, the kind of the more up tempo offense, trying to score early, not leaving the trick plays or whatever in the bag for when we need them. Right, trying to get ahead, play almost like an underdog in certain ways. But what other big adjustments do you want to see? It could be this season. It could be just kind of big picture with this team.
I thought we made progress. And this is, trust me, this is not a backhanded compliment, although it is. I thought it was a milestone that against the Cuse, I don't recall a pre-snap penalty on the offensive line. I don't know if it equates to the lunar landing, but I felt it was a milestone that we actually, now, did we actually do the clap thing? One of you guys mentioned.
I thought we did. I have to rewatch. I thought we did.
That's a funny story. So Quatrine Hill, very underrated player from the early 2000s, told me a funny story. Remember with the Malik Rozier offense, we did the clap?
Yeah.
There were whole sections of the stadium at Hard Rock that would mimic the clap with Malik Rozier. It became like a thing. So you would literally be watching the game, and there'd be one section clapping along with Malik Rozier. Yeah, I gotta ask him about that.
Yeah, I remember that. That was I don't know if that helped or hurt the group clap. Crowd was good, by the way. On Saturday, we had a student section going crazy.
Danny, I don't remember a lot of false starts in that era. Now that I think about it.
No, it's definitely a newer problem. I think really the penalties being like extreme started really with Manny and has continued through Cristobal. That's just been a consistent
the lasting legacy of Manny Diaz at Miami.
Yeah, well, we're worse now, sadly. I mean, we're in the 130s now, which we'd not been under Manny. I think we're like 110 pretty much every year, somewhere in that range. So not going in the right direction, but yes, the last week, an improvement. I mean, you think about the penalties. If you just remove 6 penalties from Louisville and SMU, knowing how close those games are, I mean, those are wins. Even with all the other issues that linger, explosiveness on offense, you know, Beck's turnovers, all the other problems we had in those games, you remove 6 penalties, which is like going from 12 to 6. 6 is still not like super good. That changes the whole game. Those are wins. It's that simple.
I mean, you go back to the Louisville game, one of those pre-snap infractions was on a 3rd and 2 where we're inside the Louisville 10 right before half. It was 14-7. And here's the difference. That 5 yards is so key because the field is compressed. And 3rd and 2, as an offensive coordinator, especially the way today's game is played, you're thinking this is 4-down territory. Now, on 3rd and 7, you're basically saying we got to get the first down here or come within a yard. And I think we threw an incomplete pass. We went in 14-10. These things absolutely matter. And Danny and Pete, it really started this rash of penalties against USF, excuse me, even though we blew them out. And I thought may have played our most complete game that particular week. If I recall correctly, we had about 5 or 6 of those false starts and pre-snap infractions in that particular game. And I kept thinking, all right, it's an anomaly. We'll clean it up. Quite frankly, it really had not gotten cleaned up for the next 6, 7, 8 weeks.
So on the defensive side, I mean, I think, look, we've pretty much settled into being a good defense here, dealing with some injuries, overall on defense, do you believe this defense is based, this is what we need to play going forward? Like, this is the defense for us. Like, we've had moments where we've had good defenses for a few years, then we've had tremendous drop-offs and everybody firing the defensive coordinator. Like, what have you learned about this defense personnel-wise and schematically this year that has some carryover going forward?
Well, the defensive communication is much better. I think that much is clear. I think a layman like me could see that. Also, on the back end, our defensive back play is miles from where it was last season. I recall right around the third quarter of the Syracuse meltdown at the Dome, I said, we can't stop them. And I thought we had specific players on the back end. I think they knew that they couldn't stop them, and it showed in their play. And they were so tentative to a point that O.J. Frederico had an outstanding freshman year. I thought he lost confidence right in the middle of that game. You could see it. The safety play has been much better. I want to give the Miami staff a lot of credit. In Jacoby Thomas and Keontae Scott, they absolutely hit home runs. Those guys stabilized the back end. Lucas